Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast blood.
What's up, gang? Welcome back to another episode of the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day. Nothing's happening. I'm putting in all the effort. I'm showing up when I'm supposed to show up. I'm putting in the work. I'm doing the things that I need to do. But nothing is quite happening yet. It's the example of, I think it's 212 degrees is where water boils, right? And so if you were to turn the water up to 170 degrees, there's no boiling. You put it up to 200 degrees, there's no boiling. You put it up to 210, there's no boiling. 211, nothing happening. And then all of a sudden, you turn it up one notch, and it's boom. It's boiling. And that boiling can create so much energy. Or, there was an example, and, I think a lot of people know that I'm a big John Maxwell fan. And so there was a John Maxwell book where he gave the example of opposite of heat. He was using cold. And I believe water freezes at 32 degrees. So he said, imagine that you have this cup of water sitting outside and it's getting cold. It's 50 degrees, but there's nothing happening. It's water. And then it goes down to 35 degrees. There's still nothing happening. It's still water. It's just cold water. And then all of a sudden it gets down to 32 degrees. It gets to 31, 32 degrees, and then it freezes, and now you got ice. That's the process of growth. That's the discouragement of growth. Oftentimes on the surface, it looks like nothing's happening, but below the surface, it's getting ready to boil. Below the surface, it's getting ready to freeze. It's how do you keep your mind right when you're doing all the right things, but you're not getting the right response back. You're not getting the result back. And that is called the process. And so I just want you to remember these analogies for where you're at right now. Some of you, maybe you got that momentum rolling. Others, you may be doing the right things, but you're not seeing the result yet. I want to encourage you to keep on going until that water starts boiling. Keep on going until that water freezes. It's that 1 degree. We got to walk through all those other degrees, and then you get real close. It's just like, man, just turn that knob one more time and you're right there. But it's not 1 degree. It was the other 30 degrees that got you there. And staying encouraged, because if you didn't know that water boiled at 212 and you just kept turning it up, and it had to wait a certain, it's like, man, how long is this thing going to take? Well, we know we got to turn this thing to 212. In life, it's not always cut and dry that if you do this for 30 days, you get the result on the 31st day. You do this for 3 months, you get this result in the fourth month. So much of life is survival through struggle. So much of success is survival through struggle. And I think the biggest struggle is ourself. That's why there's all these slogans, you versus you, me versus me, because it's all internal. It's, can you win that mental battle when you've been doing it and you've been showing up with it and you've been consistent with it, but it's not happening for you yet? How do you stop yourself from getting demoralized and quitting and turning around 1 degree before this thing starts to boil? And so I want you to make sure that you're encouraging yourself. How would I encourage myself? Man, just off the top of my head, one is I would look at people. If you're blessed and privileged and lucky enough to have people in your industry that are doing it, you have to look at people and remind yourself, she puts her heels on the same way I put my heels on. He puts his shorts on the same way I put my shorts on. That person's doing it. It's only a matter of time for me also. So look to people that bleed just like you and encourage yourself that it can be done and it will be done if you continue with the process because somebody else is doing it. Encourage yourself by finding stories. This is why you want to research successful people. There's enough ways to research unsuccessful people and turn on the news and listen to all the negativity. But you got to go searching for the positivity. You got to go looking for the positivity. And so when you go looking for that positivity, you look at the people's journeys that have accomplished something great, and you'll find their boiling point or freezing point, and look at how much they had to go through, and encourage yourself with these people's stories and remind yourself. You know, one of mine in business was Nike, the founder of Nike, Phil Knight. 8 years into building Nike, he was bouncing checks to his employees and was like struggling financially and got cut off by a shoe connection in China. And I'm like, man, imagine being 8 years. Sometimes people can't go 8 months. Imagine being 8 years and you don't quit, but you're bouncing checks to places like, so I can find encouragement in that process. So I think another way to get around that is to motivate yourself with stories of people that have made it further and have made it through stuff that will remind you how powerful that you are, how you can get through these things. And then, you know, I'm always going to preach it. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but mentally, physically, and spiritually taking care of yourself, that helps you get through these moments aware of I'm doing it, but it's not happening fast enough for me. By managing your mental, by intentionally going and looking for positivity. You can YouTube motivation and find people that motivate you, that inspire you, that you should listen to every day. You know, one of the things, because, you know, in case you guys didn't realize or know, when you're successful, one of the things that comes with success is you get haters. They hated Jesus. They hated Mother Teresa. They hated Martin Luther King. What do you think? You think you and I get a free pass? So part of it is, you know, people end up hating on you and, you know, and stuff like that. And so what I've learned in the process of that is you got to intentionally be pouring positivity into your mind. You got access to all these great minds that you can listen to on YouTube. You pull up YouTube, pull up motivation, find somebody that you like on your journey that will intentionally encourage you to not give up and to not give in when you're going through all these obstacles and adversity. Some people go through adversity. You have a death. You have a breakup. Somebody says something bad about you. You lose a star player. You know, whatever it is. How do you keep turning the knob up when you're trying to turn the heat up? You're trying to get your water to boil. You're trying to get your business to boil. You're trying to get your life to boil. You're trying to go to the next level, but you're going through all these obstacles. And at the same time, you got to believe that when it hits 32 degrees, it's going to freeze. We know at 32 degrees, it's going to freeze. You could look at it. In your life, you just got to encourage yourself, knowing that it's only a matter of time before you get what you want to accomplish. In the process, you have to commit and be okay. That turning the knob to get it to 212, all that is the process. And so what'll help you in that process is to remove any negative people from your life that are talking bad about your dream and saying, hey, you ain't going to make it. Haven't you tried long enough? Look at all these people that fail. Look at the chances of you making it are slim. Why don't you play it safe? If you got a dream, a lot of times that dream comes from, you got to separate yourself from safety, and you got to go with faithly. You got to go with faith. You got to go with belief in order to combat what's not safe. You got to believe. You got to have faith when the water isn't boiling yet. And so this message is for those of you on the process right now that you're doing all the right things. First thing, you got to make sure you're doing all the right things. Like typically, the first place you should look at is like, am I the hardest working person in my position, in my peer group, in what I'm doing, where I'm at, what my position entails? Am I the hardest working head coach in the National Football League? Am I the hardest working kicker in the National Football League? Am I the hardest working boxer in the gym? Am I the hardest working teacher in the school? Am I the hardest working husband? Am I the hardest working? Can you control that? Because typically, you know, people could say, oh, hard work don't always work. You got to work smarter. I agree. Working smart is great. But typically, hard work does work over time. But hard work can be discouraging because when you're doing it and other people aren't doing it, it looks like they're having a fun old time and a vacation, and you're putting in all this work and you're not getting the result. And these people are having all kinds of fun. And if you're going to do all this work and not get the result, why don't you just join the fun? But what ends up happening is when you keep doing the work, when you're not getting the result yet, eventually that result comes and your life becomes bigger and better than you could ever imagine. And you have more fun than everybody that was having too much fun in the first place. It's that whole play now and pay later thing. Is you're watching people play right now and they're going to pay later. Or you can be the one that pays right now and you get to play later when it starts to boil, when it starts to freeze. Okay, so that's the message for today. Okay, stay hot. Stay hot till you boil. Stay up. Stay focused. Stay committed in the process, even when it didn't happen for you yet. Even if it takes you 3 months, if it takes you 6 months, if it takes you 12, whatever it is, just stay committed right now in the journey. And if you know anybody that needs this message, do us a favor and share it with them. That's the only cost to entry on this thing, is just share this with other people that we can impact their life. And for the athletes out there, for the business athletes out there, for the people out there on the journey, on the grind, trying to build something special, it's coming. It's coming. Hang on. Hang on. Stay committed in the process. Keep doing it even when you can't see it. Keep believing even when you can't see it. Keep putting in the work, because anybody that has made it, people can discourage you and make you feel like you're stupid for doing the work and not getting the result. Anybody that has made it, 99% of those people, if you read about their journey, you ask about their journey, or they talk to you about their journey, they had a period of time where they were doing a bunch of work, a bunch of things, and nothing was happening for them. And then all of a sudden it clicked. Then all of a sudden it happened. It happened because they stayed committed in the process when they weren't getting the result. And then all of a sudden the result came. An inch after maybe they thought about giving up, a year after they thought about giving up, 6 months later after they thought about giving up, but they pushed through that process. That's why it's called the process, and it's non-glorious, and it's not attractive, and it's not sexy, and that's why not all people get to have greatness, because they don't want to go through that in-between stage before it starts to boil. But not you. You came here for a reason. You're listening to this for a reason. That means you're special. Let's be special, and let's keep our foot on the gas pedal in the process, and it's going to happen for you. All right. So we appreciate you as always. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day.